The online feud between Elon Musk and President Trump seems to be cooling off, but questions still remain about the partnership between Musk's SpaceX company, and NASA. While Musk backed off on threats to decommission Dragon spacecraft used by NASA, some details about the partnership remain unclear. So joining us right now is Davenport. He's a reporter covering NASA and the space industry for The Washington Post. Christian, thank you so much for joining us on 24/7 today. Can you give us an idea of exactly how we got here?
Yeah, well, it's funny that the Trump-Elon partnership goes back actually even to the first administration, where Trump went down to Cape Canaveral to champion SpaceX's first launch of astronauts, their first human spaceflight mission. And then, of course, Elon became a close advisor to the president in this administration. They seemed like the best of buddies. Elon was running Doge, and that relationship began to fray and obviously came apart yesterday in spectacular fashion, with the two of them, sort of trading insults and going back and forth, and with the president ultimately threatening to cut off all of the contracts that the federal government has with Elon's companies, which are many. I mean, the Washington Post has done an analysis to show that Elon's companies have benefited to the tune of $38 billion over many years. And so you have not just NASA, but the Pentagon, who have been really reliant on SpaceX. And now the question is, now that there's been this rift in the relationship, what's going to happen to that partnership, which is so important for the functions of the federal government?
Yeah, very much so. So Musk backed off on threats about decommissioning SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, but those threats obviously raise questions about the partnership with NASA. Can you explain some of that partnership to us?
Yeah, so what the Dragon spacecraft is, it's a capsule that transports humans to the International Space Station. There's also a variant of it that flies cargo there as well. But right now, it is the only spacecraft capable of flying astronauts to the International Space Station. You might remember about a year ago when Boeing and its Starliner launched a pair of astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, but had all of those problems with it. It was SpaceX that had to go up there and get those astronauts and bring them home, because NASA was too concerned about whether Boeing would be able to do that successfully. So it is the only way, Dragon spacecraft, it's the only way NASA can get its astronauts there. And when Elon threatened to decommission Dragon, to essentially say, we're not going to fly those missions for you anymore, what he's saying in effect is that we are going to cut off the nation's access to the International Space Station, this orbiting laboratory that taxpayers have funded to the tune of about $100 billion, and essentially put all of that on ice. That had huge ramifications, sent shockwaves through the space industry, through NASA, and you saw that Elon, somewhat quickly reversed himself, I think in large part because he realized, what a profound impact that would have on NASA.
Oh, definitely. And Christian, there is a military and Pentagon aspect to this, right? So there is some national security aspect to all of this, with Musk threatening all of what he said on social media yesterday.
Right. So the Pentagon, even before all of this, had been saying for a fairly long time that they wanted more providers, more companies that can launch their very sensitive national security satellites to orbit, that they don't ever want to be reliant on one single company. Normally that's because, rocketry is very difficult. We're talking about rocket science. A rocket can blow up and then they'll be grounded for a period of time. And if you don't have a backup or an alternative, you're kind of out of luck and you have to wait for that company. So they've always wanted to have more providers. There's also the benefit, of course, of driving down the price, of having competition when you've got multiple companies competing for these very lucrative contracts. But now you have a situation where one of the Pentagon's main suppliers just threatened, essentially, that to NASA that, hey, we may not be there for you when you need us, even though we're under contract. So I know that also was a great concern to the Pentagon at a time when it is seeking to look for more competition to combat the threats with China. I mean, remember, we've got the United States Space Force now that is looking to move quickly to leverage all of the technologies and capabilities that have just blossomed in this growing commercial space sector that SpaceX has sort of been the lead of, but they want to see now other providers step up and do that. And with Elon sending tweets like that, that sends a signal that perhaps they may not be as reliable going forward as others had initially hoped.
We'll wait and see what happens with this relationship going forward. Christian Davenport, thank you so much for your insights. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you.